The Bavarian State Assembly has passed a controversial new law which it says will help police investigate serious crimes, but which its critics say raises serious questions about data protection to the point that it may even be unconstitutional. Specifically, this law allows the Bavarian police to use a piece of software called VeRA, which will be used to help investigate particularly serious crimes. At first glance, it doesn't seem that suspicious. It simply searches all the various police databases in Bavaria and collects information on possible suspects. That is to say, it pools data that the police already have, and it simply saves officers the time and effort involved in searching each database separately. Also, it will only be used for serious crimes when necessary to prevent further crimes from being committed. So what's the problem? Well, according to some experts, the system will be able to search through data on 30 million people. And this isn't just convicted criminals and possible suspects. It's anybody who's had any kind of dealings with the police of any kind whatever. So that could also be victims, witnesses, or just people who've been randomly stopped and searched. In other words, the system might treat you as a possible suspect simply because you once saw somebody fall off a motorcycle. Data protection laws mean that this kind of data can only be used for specific purposes, and investigating a totally unrelated crime is not the reason that the police have your name and address on record after you witnessed a road traffic accident. The fear is that this could amount to surveillance by the state, and if there's one thing that German history teaches us, it's that surveillance by the state is not a good thing. Also, the software is made by the American company Palantir, which counts as one of its clients the CIA. Exactly how the software works is a trade secret, so we can't be completely sure that US intelligence hasn't just been granted access to Bavarian police databases. On this point, supporters of the idea say that similar software by the same company is already in use elsewhere in Germany, and there don't seem to have been any problems with it. But it may not even help. One of the politicians opposing this idea points out that the federal government is already working on a plan to help police forces more easily share information with each other nationwide. The failure to properly investigate the National Socialist Underground, a far-right domestic terrorist organization, was, according to him, largely down to the 16 state police forces not communicating with each other effectively. That problem is not going to be solved by making it easier for the Bavarian police to communicate with itself. In any case, one of the opposition parties has said that it wants to take this to the Constitutional Court for a ruling on whether or not this is even legal. But that aside, what do you think? A common sense measure to keep us safe from terrorists and serial killers? Or a one-way trip to Orwell's 1984? Surveillance by the state. And if there's one thing that German teaches, collects data. The law allows the Bavarian police to use this idea, say that